Hi, everyone. It's Lydia with the Avanti Wellness podcast and YouTube channel. And today I'm here with Jamie Mitri. How you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here. So Jamie is with Moss Pure. I'm so excited to let her introduce to y'all what that is and how unique it is because there's not anything like it in the world. And she's going to talk about that. But thanks for being here. And I'll go ahead and just let you dive in and give us a little background and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Jamie Mitri. I graduated from the URI, from University of Rhode Island, with Bachelor of Science degrees in Chemical Engineering and Biology. I have over 20 years experience. After graduating, I worked in medical devices. I developed products that were used to help diagnose patients in the ICUs of hospitals. I've been an environmental engineer. I've also worked in biotech, developing products and drug development as well. And I always wanted to basically blend my scientific knowledge with aesthetics and fashion and interior design because I have a really big passion there. And I kept getting feedback from customers who, as I was developing these really, really cool medical devices, life-saving medical devices, they wanted something that was cool and aesthetically pleasing. And I always said that if I ever had the chance to create my own product, that I would blend those two together, and I would take that innovative risk because the companies at the time that I was working for kept saying my ideas were too innovative. No one makes a scientific device look simple and non-scientific. You just don't do that. But I wanted to do that, and I wanted that chance. And actually, when I created Moss Pure, I created it actually at an MIT competition, MIT startup competition called the MIT Lebanon Challenge in June 2020. I was going in, I didn't know what my product was going to be, but I found out about these moss walls, and I created Moss Pure, and it ended up winning first place startup in the competition, to my surprise. Then the UN came by. They liked the product, the United Nations. I went through the United Nations Development Program for Social Innovation, that's what it was called, in August 2020, shortly after MIT, and I won top 10 startup worldwide. So from there, MIT and the UN had accelerator programs. I developed the product for over a year, experimenting with moss, which I can explain later about the whole science behind how Moss Pure was developed and how it's so different from anything out there. But it took me a year to get there, and then I launched around 2021, and we've been operating since.
That's a fascinating story. I love that you've got early validation. So it must be something really special. So why don't we explain to our audience, what is Moss Pure?
Yeah, so during the MIT competition, I found out that moss walls were becoming a big thing. Living walls were becoming a big thing. But there was a huge gap in both of those markets. No one was actually using living moss, and no one was actually able to make living moss, a working or effective air filter. Companies were trying either to stick live moss onto a frame or a decor piece, or they're trying to make an air filter just by gluing moss onto something, and it just wasn't working. If you actually take any plant, any natural air polluting plant, and you were to put it into your space, what folks don't tell you is that scientifically it doesn't impact your air quality. It actually takes 20 years to purify only like 0.2% of your space. So that's not what I wanted to do with Moss Pure. I wanted to be the only company in the world to actually create a living moss air filter that actually worked. The other thing, though, is that because no one was actually able to get the science behind using living moss and making it live indoors, a lot of companies, even to this day, if you see a moss wall out and about, which I'm sure you do, it's actually not living moss. It's called preserved moss. It's no longer living. So what they do is they actually treat it with chemicals to kill the moss, and then they further treat it with other chemicals to process it, soften it, and also dye it different colors. So there's a lot of chemicals in the moss. It becomes really stiff, really fake looking, faded. A lot of the moss that you see isn't actually even living moss, isn't even moss itself. It's actually a fungi called reindeer moss. Even though it has moss in its name, it's actually not a type of moss. It's a fungi or a fungus. And there's just a lot of disadvantages with preserved moss. Customers are saying that it still smells like the chemicals that are used to treat it and to kill it and to dye it. the dyes come off onto your hands, which actually I have pictures, a side-by-side picture on my website. I'm not sure if you can share your screen and show it.
Oh,
But
yeah,
the biggest thing, though, with the preserved moss companies is that customers wanted living moss. You know, the preserved moss doesn't last. Because it's a lower quality product. It's treated with so much chemicals. It's no longer living. It doesn't last. Within a year or two, you're actually going to have to throw it out or replace it. So I created the world's only company to use 100% living moss. And we basically build out a living environment for the moss. It stays alive within our design forever without needing watering, sunlight, or maintenance. And it's the world's only certified and patent pending air filter and stress relief device. So as I mentioned before, other companies are trying to make moss work by sticking it onto a frame. You're not going to get moss to even survive indoors or even to be an air filter if you try to get moss from outside and bring it indoors. We're not using the types of moss that you see in your lawn or garden. We actually use a certain species of moss and a lot of biology and engineering to create our products. But here's the kicker. I created Moss Pure so that it doesn't look like a scientific device. I wanted it to be an aesthetically pleasing decor piece. So it just really, that's where the innovation comes from too. Is like, it doesn't look like a scientific device, but this thing is purifying your air and it's doing it well. So certified air quality results from a lab show that every square foot of Moss Pure captures 300,000 ppm of CO2 and 1.5 million pollutant particles, including dust, allergens, metals, bacteria, viruses, volatile organic compounds, odors, toxic gases, you name it. I designed this to be a multi-layered air filter to improve your air quality. So if you go up a little bit, I show like the differences between our products and living moss.
Okay.
And
let me just back up a little bit because I'm gonna pretend like not everybody knows what we're really talking about. So I'm just going to make a couple of statements before, because we're talking to an engineer scientist here. So I just want to make everyone aware. Some people don't know that certain plants are known to clean air and make air quality. I think that's like an assumption we're making that everyone knows that. And I don't think that's the case with every single person out there. So I want to just put that framework. That's why something like a Moss Pure is a viable, scientifically proven tool to help not only look good, but have a function like cleaning the air. So that's why Jamie was just talking about parts per million and how much it cleans. So before you dive into this difference on the screen, just give them an example of how does a normal air filter that you buy at the Target or a Toshiba air filter that stands on your floor that everyone's kind of familiar with cleaning smoke and what have you, help them understand like how much does that clean compared to how much a Moss Pure framed wall piece would clean.
Yeah, so to give you a comparison, one of those like air filters like that you put on your floor, for example, you put on your table or a tabletop air filter, that will do what Moss Pure can do in 2 minutes in like an hour. So Moss Pure,
it takes an hour.
Takes an hour to
do it, but Moss Pure can do it in 2 minutes
via the lab testing. And Moss Pure is actually 60% more efficient in improving your air quality as those air filters, and it doesn't require electricity or watering. And it's using our science.
I want to make that clear because you're talking really fast, but just did y'all hear what she said? It does not require watering. That's part of the science and the technology that she has come up with to make this easy to maintain, because most plant walls that have plants require maintenance and watering, correct?
Correct. So there's things called living walls where they'll put a plant onto a wall and they'll set up like an irrigation system, and you have to set up like pumps and stuff like that. There's a lot of electricity, maintenance. And one of the things that happens with these living walls when you have the real plants is that a lot of the plants will die in like 3 or 4 days. Some of them will get diseases and die off as well. With our product, you don't have that. We eliminate all of those issues for you. like I said, I'm the engineer, so you don't have to be. If you don't have a green thumb, this is what the product is for. But also, it's not just that. Like, you know, I don't want someone having like the wall behind me. I don't want them to have to throw that out in a year. You know, I want this thing, you know, built to last. So that's why we use just really, really high quality materials. We use my 20 years experience in engineering and biology. You know, I am a nerd, and I put all of my nerdness into this. And one important fact that you made was the lab testing. A lot of people don't realize, why is Jamie always talking about the lab testing? The reason why I'm talking about that is because in order to say that a product is an air filter, in order to say that a product improves your air quality in the United States, you have to have air quality results. So a lot of like the moss companies out there, when I was developing Moss Pure, they would say these things, and they wouldn't have, you know, they would promise that their product was an air filter. They still do it, but they didn't have the air quality testing. Now, I'm an environmental engineer. I know better, because when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Because if that was me and I had something like that on my website, the EPA, FDA, all these regulatory agencies would come knocking on my door, and I'm sure they will soon enough, or if they haven't already. But you can't say that in the United States. You cannot just say my product is an air filter without having air quality results. You're not compliant.
And
So that's why and that's why the other companies don't have those results, is because their products just don't work. And I saw that right away. Unfortunately, some customers didn't see that until they purchased the products or after the fact. Or a lot of times the companies were selling preserved moss, and they would tell companies that or customers that it was live moss. The customer would buy the product and it would smell, you know, it would die in like or it would have to be thrown out in 2 to 3 days, or even 2 to 3 weeks. And they would call up the companies, and that's what I saw. I saw the reviews online. That's how I found out. I was like, wait a minute, this company isn't using living moss. The customer is saying that the product smells. And I actually was talking to a scientific expert. I was doing like a podcast with them, and they were trying to tell me that they bought a living moss wall years ago, and they're like, how come it smells? I'm like, no. Your moss did not smell.
Not only that, but also you told me that they're flammable.
Yes, that's a good point. Preserved moss, because there's so much chemicals in it, it's really flammable. It also
has a rating, right? It has a flammable rating.
Yeah, it has a flammable rating.
They ask you what your flammable rating is.
I honestly don't know what happened, but in order for so for example, I'm working on a project in Atlanta, Georgia, with a big architectural firm. And whenever you work with an architectural firm, engineering firm, because I'm a chemical engineer, I know this stuff, they ask you about your material, and they ask you about your product, and they asked me what my flammability rating was, because they heard that I had moss. And I'm like, my moss is different. It doesn't have flammability rating for the ASTM methods. And they're like, whoa, we've never had that before. They're like, what? Because something must have happened something bad must have happened for them to ask for a flammability rating with the preserved moss products. Because these products are highly flammable, because they're adding so much chemicals to the preserved moss. Like, you think about it, like they take the moss, they have to add chemicals to it to make it no longer living. Then they have to add chemicals to it to make it softer. Then they have to add chemicals in it to make it look artistic and have the dyes to it. So they're pretty much making it into a arts and crafts piece, and it kind of almost becomes like a piece of carpet. That's what I tell people. It's just unalive, and it collects dust.
What about off-gassing? That's probably dangerous.
That's what it is. It's off-gassing. That's what the flammability thing is. So that's what I'm telling people. The smell that you're smelling from the moss, the fake preserved moss, is it off-gassing and emitting chemicals into your air.
Yes.
So what's funny, what's hilarious is that
the EPA should be all over that.
Yeah, well, they were saying that their products were sustainable. The preserved moss companies, they still say it to this day. They were also saying at one point that the preserved moss was an air filter. No. Preserved moss cannot filter air. One, it's no longer living, so it can't even be used as an air filter. But it's also polluting your air with those chemicals that it's off-gassing. Right. So it's highly dangerous. It's highly dangerous for the people who have it in their vicinity. It's highly dangerous for those folks who are actually working with it, the artists that are working for it. It's a very dangerous product to work with. It's not safe. It actually generates a lot of dust. And they actually tell you to dust the product. I had someone yesterday ask me if you had to dust my product. I said, no, Moss Pure actually captures dust. You don't have to dust our product. And our customers thought that was really weird. But apparently the preserved moss, because it becomes like a piece of carpet, because they have to treat
it's like plastic.
Yeah, it collects dust. And it's just not it's a low quality product. So our product's just a higher quality product made to last. But not even that. If you took a side by side of my product, the living moss and the preserved moss, our product just has a higher aesthetic because it's just fluffy. You can see the antenna of, you can see the fluffiness of the real living moss, where the other stuff is just so crunchy and flaky and stiff. If you touch it, it breaks apart. It flakes very easily. It just looks fake because they've had to put so much chemicals into it to process it. So it's no longer a plant. It's kind of just like a piece of art that they have to use.
I was going to say it's basically a live plant. It's Moss Pure versus a dead plant on the other brands and whatever they're doing and selling. You know, it's live versus dead. So, you know, it's not going to be able to filter anything.
No.
Let me ask you, go ahead.
I mean, the biggest complaint, though, that I get is that they just don't last. And that was the whole point of having preserved moss, but they just don't last. And a lot of companies, I honestly, I've had to replace thousands of preserved moss walls just because of the fact that our products last, they last indefinitely, and customers were just fed up with having to replace the other stuff.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit, because you were telling me that you've tested your walls in different parts of the country. Tell us the story of the different areas. Like I think you said cold environments, high altitude. Tell us some of the places and where do they thrive, you said? Where I live.
So Lydia made a good point before we were talking. You know, I told her that I have a lot of customers in Texas. I have a lot of customers in Alaska. I have a lot of customers out in the Midwest where it's really cold. Even here in New England where it's really hot and really cold, we see every extreme of weather. And I was telling Lydia that when I was an engineer in industry, I had to create products, medical device products that were used to help diagnose critically ill patients in any type of environment, whether you're in the mountains or the high elevations of Colorado, to whether you're in the high humidity of Texas. You know, I had to design the product so that it would be able to survive in the product design wherever we took it. And I did that same thing with Moss Pure. Not only that, I tested it. And not only did I develop Moss Pure within our living environment, what I did was I spent a year building out a living environment. It's a multi-layered proprietary living environment for the moss. It basically keeps it alive in our product design. And another thing that people ask me is, do you have to cut the moss? Does it grow out of the design? The answer is no. I picked a slow growing species of moss. But the other thing that I did was it stays alive in our design. It likes our design. It won't grow out of it. And it stays alive in our design no matter where you put it. So I had it tested with customers all over the U.S., from Texas to California to Maine to Canada to all over the world in any type of climate. And I made sure that it lived. Not only that, I confirmed this with environmental lab testing as well. So I made sure of that no matter what, it stays alive in our living environment. And if you were to take it out of our living environment for whatever reason, which is hard to do because it likes our environment, and part of our process is that we actually put it into the living environment and we let it take our living environment for a few days. It's a settling period. So we make sure that it's in our environment, it's good to go, and then we ship it off to you and you're good to go. And you get to enjoy it. You put it up like a picture frame, and you don't have to do any work, and it's just there, and it's just there for you to enjoy.
What are the sizes that because a lot of the people who are coming to the website are able to like kind of make orders and do things, but what are the sizes you can actually ship without having any kind of installation that is required, like to an average receiver? Like, I mean, honestly, how big is this one behind me? Is that like what is that, like 5 feet by 4 feet or something?
Yeah, I mean, the one behind me, I think, is 8 by 7, and that took us 15 minutes to install. So I kind of so like I said, I'm the engineer, so you don't have to be. So all of our products, the products range, and I can create any product design. We have custom builders. You can go on, you can custom build your product, meaning that you can pick the frame color, you can pick the moss that you want, you can pick the size. If there's nothing there that's mentioned, you can just design something with me. You can contact us. There's a lot of options on our website. Just contact me and speak to me. I'll give you a quote. And if you want me to design something on the fly, like I said, I'm an engineer. I've done anything under the sun that you can think of. with our design. It can our invention can be used into anything. Now, like I said, I'm an engineer, so you don't have to be. So what we did was me, myself, and my builders. I work with a building team. We develop a kind of installation process. There's two things we can do. One, we kind of do this like French cleat method where we custom make, while we make the wall, we ship out two pieces where you basically put one piece on a wall, and we give you a whole process, a whole step-by-step process with instructions. You put one on the wall, and then you put one on the back of the moss wall, and then you literally just slide it down, and that's it.
Nice.
It's just like putting up, and our smaller pieces will have hanging hardware attached to it. It's like putting up a picture frame.
Wow.
It's just a simple, and if you do need
kind of like really, a clip-in or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And if you do really need like a crazy, crazy installation piece, you can fly me out. I make it so you don't have to do that, but some people just want to see me and they want to meet me and they want me to install it, and we can do that. Or I can hire someone in your area, a handyman, and I can give them instructions as an engineer on how to do it, and they can do it in 15 minutes.
Well,
I've had people do that for me too.
I know you work with like hospital systems and hotels. I can just see where their maintenance crew could.
Yeah, it's very easy.
Instructions and just plug and play.
Yeah, it's literally just like a picture frame, and we give you all the hardware. It comes included within the product design and within the product package. There's a lot of things that come included with the product package. That's one of them, and that's custom pieces. And then we give whoever works with you detailed instructions. They can actually talk to us and FaceTime us. We'll walk them through, and that's my thing. 15 minutes or less installation. That's my goal.
That's amazing.
I'm not trying to make this, because when I was creating Moss Pure, I saw one of these products. This guy was trying to make a Moss air filter. It was this big steel hunk of junk, and it had a lot of electricity in it, and it said only an hour to install. And I looked at it, and I'm like, I'm an engineer, and I don't want to install that for an hour. I don't want to do that. It's a lot of work. So I looked at my brother, who's also an engineer, and I said, we're going to make this as easy as possible, because I don't want people to be like, oh my God, look at this. I can't wait to put it up. Oh my God, let me wait an hour and try and figure this out like a puzzle piece. I don't want people to do that. Moss Pure is an engineered product for you to enjoy, but I'm the engineer, so you don't have to be. I'm the plant expert and you can be a plant expert too. You have a living moss air filter in your space. No one else has it. You're cool. You're a nerd just like me, and if you need any help, don't be shy to shoot me a message or an email. A lot of times people, when they email the website, they're surprised that I answer. I'm a very hands-on CEO. I'm very involved in the design and building of our products. I take pride in that. It's part of the reason why our products are just high quality and why our customer service is really up there, because I take care of our customers. We all take care of our customers. They're our guiding light and really the reason why we're even here and why we're still in business.
Yeah. So we talked earlier about a lot of companies that like working with you are like plastic surgeon offices and interior design associations and architects. And I'm thinking in Houston, there's a LEED, lead architect firm here that would love to learn about your product if they don't know about it already. And of course, like we said, luxury hotels, resorts, hospitals, people who appreciate the purifying the air quality aspect of your product.
Yeah, but also the aesthetic and the quality of it. The fact that it's living moss, because when you see it and it's a live plant and you see it, it's like you're like in an urban jungle, because it's just so different. Like, everyone who's seen my stuff just says they can't look at the fake moss anymore, like the preserved moss anymore, because when you see the real thing in front of you, it's just different. Plus, we have like a 3D aesthetic. And like you said, like we work with interior designers, architects. We work with a lot of corporate offices, a lot of companies. Like in my background and your background, the logos. We're actually a national wholesale sign maker too, so we actually make the logos ourselves. Not only are you getting the quality of the logo there, but you're also getting our wholesale price, and we build it into the design with you, and it's actually built in 3D. So we actually build it in within the product design. We build the air filter within it. So it actually looks like the logo is within the moss, like you're in an urban jungle.
That's cool.
We have our own design aesthetic that no other company has. In many cases, they're actually just sticking a logo on top of the moss, and it just doesn't look good. And the moss
And
pushes
it pushes
against it.
the moss down, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't
It's
look
almost
good.
like stenciled, right? This is like stenciled in the moss.
It's 3D. It's 3D built into moss. It's elevated within the moss. So if you see it, it's a 3D, like it's sticking
That's
out 3D. I have a
amazing.
video of it on our Instagram of me walking you through it, and I actually go through the video of you seeing the elevations of the moss, because we do a 3D design. We use different species of moss within our design, and we're the only company to really do it the way that we do. The reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted people, when they saw a moss pure piece, I wanted them to know that it was moss pure. You know, because
Yeah.
there's so many moss companies out there, so many of the preserved moss companies out there. They're all saying, hey, our products are living, and they're not. I wanted you to know that when you saw our product, that you know it was our brand.
Yeah,
You
it's
know it was ours.
luxury. It's a
Yeah.
luxury brand, and people can tell the difference.
Yeah.
You were telling me that you've worked with some NFL teams and some different MLB teams and
Yeah,
NBA
like the
teams.
the wall behind you is for Bob Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots. That's actually at Gillette Stadium as we speak. That's pretty cool because I'm a big Patriots fan. I'm from New England. I'm from Rhode Island. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of interest. I keep hearing, different teams want our walls, and
With their logos in it.
yeah, that's our niche. Like we do this stuff really well. We sell the logo walls everywhere. I just did a massive logo wall for an outdoor theme park in Arkansas. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Wait, let's
that's
talk
our
about that. It's outdoor and indoor moss walls, like
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Our design can be used anywhere, indoor and outdoor. We can do moss air towers, air filter towers. We've actually done actual like total exterior landscapes, like roofs, indoor and outdoor interior or exterior landscapes. Like we can do anything. I'm just trying to give an example. I actually did a wall here for an outdoor restaurant. Completely, the outdoor is just these two massive moss walls when you go to when you go into the entrance of it. The thing with that though is that the moss can't be in direct sunlight, so you have to have like some type of gazebo or some type of hanging like
A
piece.
roof over it. Yeah.
Yeah, something covering it like a canopy or something.
Patio.
Yeah, and the other thing too is just a small disclaimer: the moss will survive for a long time. It may need occasional maintenance, which is probably what I'm talking occasional maintenance, like maybe 3 to 4 times a year, and that's only if you have extreme weather. Like we've had here in Rhode Island, we've had a tornado, hurricanes, snowstorms, rainstorms. We've had everything thrown at us that you can think of, and the moss walls that I did outdoors survived, but they did need a little bit of patching after one of the tornadoes, but not much. But like if it's outdoors, it will need it.
It's not indestructible. That's the point, right?
Yeah, but if it's indoors, you're fine. But yeah, outdoors, it actually does really, really well, and a lot of people love it because the stuff that they use on roofs is like was something that they call sedum, and the stuff that they use. They also use, like in Europe, you'll see these moss air filter towers. That's where I was talking about with the MIT competition, where I saw that they were just trying to stick moss onto a device and make it work. And they use a lot of electricity, and the moss is like sticking off of it. Like they have to do a lot of maintenance every day. They use like gallons and gallons of water a day, electricity. They probably use like millions of gallons of water a year on these things, and it doesn't work. Where our products, you only have to do maintenance on the outdoors ones occasionally if there's a storm, if there's a severe storm.
But the indoor ones don't require watering or electricity. And
the moss wall takes care of itself by being an air filter. So what it's doing is, like a vacuum, using our patent pending science, it's basically acting like a vacuum, and it's taking in the like bad chemicals in the air, like the dust, allergens, metals, bacteria, viruses, even moisture. It's taking it in from the air, and it's using it as its nutrient source, as its food source, keeping itself alive. But while it's doing that within our living environment, it's improving your air quality. And that's why our design works and other designs don't, because they're just trying to stick moss onto a frame, and it's not staying alive, it's dying. And they just don't have the science that we do to create the effective air filter.
You probably haven't done this testing, and I'd be surprised if you did, but I'm very much into frequency, and that trees and all kinds of plants have a frequency. And that's why when you go into a forest, you feel good, your nervous system relaxes. I'd be curious to test the wall and see what frequency it's giving
Yeah,
off.
I'm actually testing that now. Actually, there is a test for it,
Wow.
and for soundproofing. I'm actually having that tested because that actually came from an architectural firm, because they made a good point. So my living environment, like I said, it's a multi-layered system, but it has different functions. There's different nutrients there. It's a multi-layered air filter. It's keeping the moss alive, but it's also a multi-layered soundproofing system. So, when you have these soundproofing panels, they only have one layer of soundproofing, whereas I have maybe 4 or 5 layers plus the moss as a soundproofing layer. The other thing that I don't mention, that I failed to mention, that I'm glad you brought this up, is that Moss Pure is actually a patent pending stress relief device. So I don't know if you know about biophilic design, or if you've heard about biophilic design. Biophilic design is this scientific method that having a plant or nature in your space, even having a picture of it, relieves stress and anxiety and increases productivity. Now, it's a scientific...
In your workspace.
Yes, it's been scientifically proven, but the thing is, they don't have numbers towards that. Again, this is where I found a gap. So I found a gap in this. I'm like, why is there no scientific data for this? They're saying it does it, but why is there no numbers on this or data? So I found that there was a gap in biophilic design where it focuses on your sense of sight or your vision. So I decided to use Moss Pure and engage your sense of vision, further engage your sense of vision with the 3D aspect of it and our 3D aesthetic design, but also use psychological and biological aspects of the plant and of our design to engage your touch and your smell, and further increase those effects of biophilic design. So I created something called the Moss Pure method, which is a patent pending method now, scientific method for stress and anxiety relief. And it's been shown that our products do decrease stress and anxiety, increase productivity. Further down the line, I'm going to be doing some testing with that as well, with some, psychological firms and colleges and universities to get that testing out. So, I mean, I'm doing more testing on our products because more and more people are telling me about how they're helping people around.
They're benefiting, right? And at Avanti Wellness, that's what we like talking about. We like to talk about natural ways of being healthy through nature and plants and herbs and all of the things that nature gives us naturally to have a better quality of life, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I could talk about this subject for hours because I'm such a plant nerd. I could debunk so much myths that are out there about what is not good for you plant-wise, what is good for you plant-wise. I could debunk myths on plants for days if you just threw questions at me. I could talk about this subject for a long time. I love it too.
That's awesome. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything that we haven't. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask, because I want people to set expectations about what it requires. I mean, this is quality ingredients, quality products. You're sourcing a lot of the things. You don't necessarily make the moss, you buy the moss. So if I had a budget that of people that you like to work with, what is the range of a Moss Pure system that you've seen? Like, if you have a budget between X and Y, you could probably work with getting a Moss Pure system.
Yeah, and I will tell you that when folks see like the moss walls behind us, they love them and they want them, right? The moss walls, the moss that we use, we do grow ourselves, but we also get them from other areas of the United States because I want to increase American biodiversity. A lot of the preserved moss companies will actually get the moss from overseas. Preserved moss actually, even overseas, is expensive because they have to process it so much. So that's why they get it overseas, but it is lower quality. But our products, they're 100% built in the US, in our studio in Rhode Island, but they're also made from US made materials. We make everything from US made premium quality materials because I'm making the product to last. As I mentioned earlier, the preserved moss companies, living moss, the living walls that you see where it's just plants, they don't last. They use a lot of watering and electricity.
Yeah, and they can die. Yeah.
Yeah, and the preserved moss walls end up dying too. So you're spending a lot of money having to replace these. But with our products, I'm designing such an innovative product.
Aren't they warranted, your products?
Yeah, our products come with a warranty, and they also come with a maintenance plan. So we're guaranteeing that these last. No other moss company provides that.
Right, you're going to help them last if they don't.
Yeah. So our products are built to last. They're higher quality product that's built to last. It has a value, the added value of being an air filter, a certified air filter, stress relief device, and you don't have to maintain it. And it basically is valuable. So if you want to start, our packages can start at 15,000 and can go up to 300K. But usually, 15,000 is a good number to go by, just because there's so much science, so much design that goes into our products. I value our products. You'll work with me one-on-one. I design the product the whole way. The design is part of the package, and we make sure that you're taken care of. You get renderings with our design package too. And I'm with you the whole entire way as your engineer, as your personal designer, project manager as well. So you get that value, and you also just get the value of it being built to last, because that's the number one thing. We've replaced thousands of moss walls. I'm actually replacing a 40-foot moss wall as we speak from a luxury apartment building.
You're talking about other people's moss walls you're replacing.
Yeah, the preserved moss wall. Yeah. So another company came in, a preserved moss wall company came into a luxury building close to me in a city in Boston, and they installed the moss wall during construction of the luxury building, and it hasn't even been a year, and it's the preserved moss from the other company is falling apart. So they're trying to get the new people into their apartments now. They sold the apartments. You know how you have to sell the apartments and all that.
Yeah, pre-sale.
Yeah, and then you have to bring in the people, and they start to move in. Well, now the folks are starting to move in, and the preserved moss wall isn't lasting. So they actually hired us to create to replace the other company's preserved moss wall
with the warranty.
With our warranted living and higher aesthetic moss wall. I also had someone from a really, really big company. I don't know if I can say what company it is.
You can. There's no rules here.
Okay, so it's from Facebook. Someone from Facebook told me that Facebook. I don't know where the Facebook facility is. I don't know. I don't know if it's in California, or I don't know if it's. I have no idea if it's headquarters or if it's another location. But apparently, Facebook put in a preserved moss wall, which is the other stuff, and no one wants to go into the lobby anymore because the preserved moss smells. And I'm like, oh, I wish Facebook just knew about my products and I could replace that moss wall. I would love to do that. I would love to work with a Facebook or a Google or something like that and just put my real stuff in there. But yeah, we replace thousands of the other stuff, the preserved moss walls, every day because of that. But like I said, because it's a higher quality product, you're going to get that higher cost initially, but you're not going to have to replace it. Like the preserved moss walls, you're going to have to replace them 2 or 3 times a year, maintain them, and you're going to end up paying 3 times as much by the end of the year. And a moss wall is an investment, whether you get it from me or someone else. What I tell customers is, do you want it to last, or do you want to throw it out in 2 to 3 years? Do you want your investment to last? Yeah, or do you want it to, if you're okay with throwing it out in 2 to 3 years with a lower quality product, you can go with another company. Or if you want the real thing, if you want the innovative, cool thing that lasts, not just cool thing, but the thing that lasts, you go with Moss Pure. We're the best at what we do. And we have the science to back it and the awards to back it too. We have 6 major awards. The MIT and the UN weren't the only awards that we received. We're on Oprah's favorite list of things that
what?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah, we made Oprah's list of graduation gifts to actually use her favorites in May 2023. We've won several awards.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I have a couple of things I want to interject here before we get past that subject. So I want to say you have some patent pending reviving stuff. So in other words, not that your plants will die, but if they do, that's why you can warranty it, because you know how to bring the plant, resurrect the plants and have them come back alive, right?
Yeah, that's what I call my moss sauce. But the thing is that I never had to do that. I've never had someone say the moss is dead. Can you fix it?
Right.
That's the goal. I'm not here to send something out to California and in 5 years have them want to bring it back. That's not how it works. I want you to take it and I want it to just stay alive. So it stays alive in our design, but I have options, as we're designing things, because me and my brother, who's also an engineer, I said, how do I, from an engineer point of view, you always have mitigations, right? Option A, option B. Option A is always the customer never has to touch it. But as an engineer, my engineering brain, I'm like, what happens if X? What happens if X? So the living environment is like the foundation, like you're building a house. The living environment, the science that we give you, the moss sauce, is the foundation of the product. As long as you have that intact, which you always will because it's robust, you can easily fix anything on our products. So I've had someone accidentally drop our product and a piece of moss. This is literally out of tens of thousands of products I've sold, I had someone drop it 2 years in. I literally just sent them a piece of our moss and our binding agent, and they fixed it in 2 minutes, and it's perfect. It just grew back into our environment with the rest of the moss. So it's a robust system. I have things that are proprietary, trade secret within our design that's separate of our patent that I just, I designed specifically for Moss Pure. For example, if you were to take moss and try to glue it onto something with regular glue, you're going to kill the moss.
Right.
Because products, it's a living, it's chemicals and it's a living organism. Plant. So I see people who take hot glue guns and they just grab it. I'm like, oh no, no. So I had to formulate a binding agent or a eco-friendly moss glue, and people don't know that, but that's what I did. And I don't really give that formulation out, and I don't sell it because it's part of our design, our process. It's something that I created, proprietary, trade secret to our design.
Why yours works.
But yeah, but here's the thing. I put so much science. That's part of the examples of how much science I actually put into this product. You don't see it because it looks so cool and simple. I don't know where I'm pointing to. It just, people think that I'm going outside in my yard. I'm going to go take the moss and I'm going to go put it onto the frame and I'm calling it an air filter. That's not how this works. You can't do that. And that's not, because if you were to do that, it's not going to be an air filter. It actually also takes a lot of work. My mom, who's an interior designer for 40 years, actually helps me with our 3D design and aesthetic. It's not easy to even do that. So it's a lot of work, and we spent years developing this, and we're the best at what we do for a reason. And one person made a comment on one of my posts saying, you can't patent moss. I'm not trying to patent moss. My patent is to use living moss as an air filter and stress relief device, but also to keep moss alive indoors indefinitely without needing watering or electricity.
That's patentable.
Yeah. And no other company in the world has done that. We're the first and only company to do it. Many companies are still trying to do it. They're still trying to stick moss onto a frame, use glue, and try to just water it or tell people to water it. And they're literally just selling people dead moss on a frame. And people are seeing it, where our product is just a different aesthetic. It's just a different quality product, and it shows,
You know where I could see this looking really good is in Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos's new Miami $80 million home or whatever they just bought.
Honestly, I would be so happy to work with anyone of that caliber. I've been fortunate, Bob Kraft of the New England Patriots. He was amazing to work with. Really, really great guy. He loved the fact that I was so innovative, that this is a sustainable product, that I'm from New England, and he was him and his team were so supportive of me. Oprah and her team were amazing to me. I've just been really, really fortunate. I really want to work with anyone. And I'm just so excited about where Moss Pure can be. I mean, we've done finance companies, startups, everything you can think of under the sun.
Tech, they have all that money in the tech industry. What about NASA? Do they have any work with NASA?
Not yet. I want to. Houston, Call me.
Yeah, I'm down here with the Johnson Space Center. In fact, well, you can't see it, but I have a Apollo 7 astronaut's hat
I
behind
would
me.
love that. I would love that. Because I'm a scientist. I'm an engineer. I actually know some folks whose father worked for NASA, and I was just in awe. I was in awe of them growing up because I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you were here today to explain to people what's out there, what's the future. I mean, I can see it where, you know what, I'm going to say this. I've been in the sustainability world for the last 15 years, and people don't realize that the way that things are headed, our quality of our air is going to diminish. And so it's going to be natural for us to have things like this in buildings because it just makes sense. So you're definitely way ahead of the problem, as far as people
what I'll tell
knowing
you
that there's a problem.
Yeah, and what I'll tell you too is that I designed this for myself and my family as well. But I suffer from severe allergies. So does a lot of my family members. I made this for allergies. So if you have allergies, you would love this product. It just clears it out. When I was designing it, I was testing it on folks, and that was one of the biggest things. It cleared my allergies. When I'm working with it, it's just there's no medicine that I could take. It's just amazing. It just clears the air. And that's what it's made for. It's made for allergens, it's made for dust, it's made for CO2, it's made to improve your air quality of things that you don't even know are actually in your air. Like I sold a piece to a private school over in, I want to say in Oklahoma. And he said that they have a massive administrative office. It's huge. And they bought one of our 11 by 14 pieces, which is 1 square foot. And he's like, Jamie, like we have a 3D printer in the office and everyone complains about the solvent smell from the 3D printer. He's like, this made it go away. He's like, this little thing, your sample, your 11 by 14 made that odor go away and it's still alive. And we don't have to water it. I'm like, oh, okay. I told you it takes care of odors and VOCs. Like, he's like, yeah, but we didn't realize that like that was giving people headaches and we didn't realize that it took care of it. Like, like when you're cooking, when you have your heat, here in New England during the heat, like I get stuffy. The heat actually gives me worse allergies than you would think because I'm indoors all the time. It actually is really, really good in that environment. If you're in a humid environment, it also works. But it's there to help you, and it's there to help you in ways that you don't know. And every day, customers tell me of how it's helping them and how new ways that they're inspired by it.
Like cat dander and cat allergies?
Cat dander, yes.
Yeah, because I can see where people might love their pets, but they got allergic to them, and so maybe
we're actually in a couple
of
vet offices too, and pet centers, or pet grooming centers as well. We have another place that we are in is manufacturing plants. We're actually at a massive manufacturing plant in Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. They make coffee and they grind the coffee, and they were having problems with the dust from the coffee grinding, increasing the VOC levels and the dust levels in their manufacturing plant, and it was causing environmental but safety concerns for their workers. So they had a massive wall. We actually made several pieces for them. I think
so OSHA could see that this could help clean air quality for paint companies.
Yep.
People
and
that
it actually is there to help out with the environment, the environmental conditions, but they also love it. They love the way that it looks. It's green. They don't have anything green in the area. It's just all manufacturing equipment. And you get to see this beautiful piece of artwork every day, and it's cleaning your air.
Oh my God. So, you know what just came to mind is like nail salons, because you go in those nail salons and there's just chemical smells everywhere.
Yeah, we do well there too, but like I said, because of our pricing point, it is a little bit more. They can do well with our 11 by 14, but like I said, when most people see these big things, these big walls, that's what they want, and these things start at like 15,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the engineering and the expertise that goes into making them. But you can do whatever you want.
Little ones.
Yeah, our smaller ones. Another popular option is that folks will take our smaller ones, or even some of our medium-sized walls, and they'll make a floating moss wall, a custom floating moss wall out of several pieces. We do have, there's a piece in a brewery where we have like 3 pieces, and we have different species of moss. I think there it
This
is.
one right here.
Yeah. It's like in a restaurant.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, we'll wrap it up. And I'm so glad to have you here today. And I love what you're about and what you're sharing with the world as far as air beautification, quality, all the good stuff, like the luxury, the niceties. You said a lot of plastic surgeons and stuff were doing it for their selfie wall, right? People
I mean, it
to
just has a number of
themselves.
different, it just has a number of different points. And the big selling point is that it's live. You know, no other company in the world uses living moss. People love the fact that it's living. It's an actual live plant. It's fluffy. It's our 3D design. So they love the aesthetics behind it. They love the fact that you don't have to water it, maintain it, or provide electricity to it, or even sunlight. And then they love the air filter aspect and the fact that it's a stress relief device. So it's just, there's different points they love about it, and it's made for you to enjoy it in your space, whether you like it for the wellness part or you just like it for the aesthetics. It's just a really cool, exclusive piece. It's unique. It's a conversation piece. No one has this. I just installed a piece recently at a dentist, right down the street from me, and they love it. They go in, they talk to the dentist. Whoa, what is that? What is that? And it's a conversation piece. They take selfies with the dentist there. It's a good selling point for the clients too. And then it's an air filter, so it's improving the air quality. So you're going to the dentist, you want to clean your teeth, but you're also getting your allergies, taken care of. And, it's just a really cool piece.
You could probably write that off as a marketing expense if you got it with the branding on it, because you could use it as a background for all your social media marketing that you're doing, when you're doing client testimonials and what have you.
Yeah, I could.
So I'm sure you could. So good. Well, thank you for being here today. Tell everyone how to find you.
Yeah,
What's
you can find
website?
me at www.mosspure.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Mosspure, Facebook at Mosspure, LinkedIn at Mosspure. So as long as you just search for our website, you'll find us.
Are you on YouTube?
I'm on YouTube too. It's actually at Mosspure as well. And one of the cool things about YouTube is that I'm also on TikTok as well, but YouTube in particular, a lot of customers love when I talk about the science behind Mosspure. So I'll have like different modules where I'll actually, in one module, I talk about how I started Mosspure, and there's a massive moss wall behind me as we're building it. But I'm doing different modules where I'll talk about the differences between us, living moss and preserved moss, other stuff. Or I'll do a module around the air filtration where I dive deep into the science about the air filter and how Mosspure is an effective air filter. Then I do a deep dive into the stress relief device and how we use the Mosspure method versus biophilic design, and where it's actually improving, where biophilic design lacks. So there's different modules where I'm, talking about the science, explaining it. And customers love when I talk about that. They love hearing me talk about the science.
Yeah.
Because it just shows how different Mosspure is, but also how passionate I am about this. I'm extremely passionate about Mosspure. I didn't have to make this. I didn't have to put all of my scientific knowledge into this. I could have just stayed in industry. I could have been a consultant making money. I chose to do this, and I put a lot of science and knowledge into this. I'm not just sticking a moss on a frame and telling you it's an air filter. This is the real deal, that it's science backed, and I have the science and the data to prove it. And then, but people love to hear me speak about it, and I love talking about it.
Yes, well, it's obvious, and we're so glad to have you today. So thank you for coming on the podcast, and it was great to meet you. And y'all go to mosspure.com and find out more and reach out. I'm sure Jamie will be happy to tell you more about it, right?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with me. I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad for the opportunity.
Me too. I hope we get you some customers. So
I hope so too.
We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.